Today we're talking about cooking on an induction cooktop and why you might want to consider adding this to your cooking arsenal in your RV. So we've gotten lots of questions about why we would choose to use an induction cooktop instead of our gas stove. So we figured we would devote a whole video to the topic. We were used to cooking on a gas stove at our sticks and bricks, so I had no concerns about using the propane stove that came with our RV. And we still use it if we're boondocking and not hooked up to shore power. But when we are hooked up to shore power, which for us is almost always, it makes more sense for us to use an induction cooktop. Why? Well, let's start with explaining how traditional cooktops work and then show you how induction differs. Both electric, non-induction cooktops and gas cooktops work by generating their own heat and then transferring it by radiation or conduction to the pan. You'll see traditional electric cooktops glow red as they generate heat, and obviously with gas, you have a direct flame. Induction cooktops work very differently. To begin with, they don't generate heat at all. They generate an electromagnetic field. Inside the cooktop is a coil of copper wire with an electric current passed through it. This creates the electromagnetic field. Now this in itself does nothing. You need a magnetic pan to transfer the current to. When a magnetic pan is placed on the cooktop, the energy is transferred to the pan and generates the heat directly within the pan via induction. Therefore, minimal energy is lost in the process. So you might be saying, that sounds cool, but why is it better? Number one, energy efficiency. See, with traditional electric cooktops and gas stoves, some of the heat that's generated by the cooktop is lost via radiation. Therefore, it takes longer to heat the pan and cook the food. Since the energy in induction cooking is transferred directly to the pan and heats up the pan itself, far less energy is lost. In fact, induction cooktops are up to 3 times more efficient than gas stoves. So what does that translate to? Faster cooking times. I'm talking boiling water 20 to 40% faster than gas and traditional electric cooktops. And since they cook faster, that means you're using less power or fuel overall. It's also super responsive to temperature changes. Since it's generating energy and not heat, if you lower the setting to bring your sauce down to a low simmer, you aren't having to wait for the cooktop itself to cool down. Number 2, it doesn't heat up the rig. Since the induction cooktop doesn't generate heat, and since some of that heat isn't lost via radiation, you don't heat up the rig like you would using gas. Now, of course, your food is going to heat up, and some of that heat will dissipate in your rig. But you're cooking faster, which means less time cooking and less overall heat in the rig. 3, it's cheaper than using propane. Unless you're paying for your electricity separately, like some RV parks do for monthly rates, the electricity is included in the price of your full hookup sites. So you can think of your electricity as free, or at least you already paid for it no matter how much you use, so you might as well use it. If you're using your gas stove, which is powered by propane, you're going to have to pay separately to replenish it. And since about 40% of the heat from the propane is lost in the process of radiation, you end up burning it for longer and using more. Number 4, induction cooktops have a few safety advantages over gas or traditional electric. For one, they don't transfer energy to anything that isn't magnetic. So if you accidentally knock a dish towel on it, nothing will happen. The rag won't catch on fire. In fact, most have a safety feature where they will turn off automatically if they don't detect anything magnetic. This is a particularly nice feature when you're cooking in a smaller RV kitchen where space is already tight, or you might have littles running around too. Now, don't take this to mean the cooktop doesn't get warm. It does, but it cools down right away because it's no longer generating energy. I've used it to boil water for coffee on a travel day and then immediately placed it on the bed for travel. And number 5, it's also super easy to clean. Most induction cooktops have a glass top that easily wipes clean, which is much easier than cleaning out the crevices of our gas stovetop. Now let's take a minute to talk about the cookware itself. I mentioned that the cookware needs to be magnetic. The bottom of the pan has to be magnetic. It needs to contain some amount of iron. 100% copper and 100% aluminum pans will not work. But before you run out and buy new cookware, test what you already have. Chances are it might be. To see if it's magnetic, just stick a magnet to the bottom of it. If it sticks, it's magnetic and it'll work. We use the magma pans because they stack, but they also happen to be magnetic. We purchased them before we got the induction cooktop, not knowing that, and totally lucked out. So let's talk power usage. As RVers, we need to understand our power supply and power consumption. Single burner induction cooktops use anywhere from 1200 to 1800 watts. So assuming you're plugged into shore power, 120 volts, and the cooktop is plugged into a 15 amp plug, you have 1800 watts to use. Now, the induction cooktop doesn't use 1800 watts all the time. The wattage is based upon the setting selected. So at 10, the highest setting on ours, we're using 1800 watts. But on the medium setting of 5, only 1200 watts, and on the low setting, only 200. Knowing how much power the appliance is drawing is important to understand what else you can or can't be using at the same time. So, who's an induction cooktop not for? People who boondock and don't want to use electricity. It's kind of a no-brainer, but even some folks who boondock with solar might find some advantages of using induction cooking. It's totally up to you. More importantly, induction cooking is not for people with pacemakers. The electromagnetic field from induction cooktops can interfere with some pacemakers. Some articles reference standing 2 to 3 feet away from the induction cooktop, which would be pretty difficult if you're the one cooking. So if you really want to try it, consult your cardiologist first. I hope you found this video helpful. Let us know if you have any questions or comments about your experience using induction. We'd love to hear from you in the comments.